Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. This is One Bag, One World, and we have a very special bag today. This is the Peak Design Outdoor Line 18-liter backpack and the 4-liter sling. Now you might already know some of these names and think we've already done a review on these bags, but you are probably thinking of this bag right next to me. This is the 45-liter travel bag, which we featured last year when it came out on Kickstarter, as well as their old sling bag. Now we didn't get around to reviewing this because we received it a little bit late, but I'm gonna walk you through this compared to the 4-liter size. This is the largest size that they offer, the 7-liter, and I'll walk you through kind of when I would take one and not the other. And the sling and the bag all work together in one big ecosystem like Peak Design has been known to do throughout all of their products. All right, let's just get the specs out of the way. This is gonna cost you $189 and about 95 cents. It fits torso sizes 17 to 20 inches. It's not really adjustable, so make sure that you're within that torso range. The waist size is 24 to 52 inches with an optional hip belt, which is not included on this. I do have it on my 45-liter, so I could swap them over, and I'll show you how to attach that later. Now, I'm gonna have to read these because the dimensions are so oddly specific, but I want you guys to get a good picture and an idea of how big this bag actually is. So it's 18.74 inches tall, 10.83 inches wide, and 6.10 inches deep. In centimeters, that's 47.6 inches tall, 27.5 centimeters wide, and 15.5 centimeters deep. But the interior dimensions are about 1/4 inch off. So that means you're using about 1/4 inch of that size all the way around just for the materials. So it's roughly about the same size on the interior. Now, this does work quite well with their ecosystem. In here, I've got my Peak Design medium packing cube, but specifically, this is kind of designed for camera gear, and I'll talk about that when we get into the interior of the bag. Now, in terms of their camera cubes, Peak Design is known for their camera gear and accessories, and this is designed to fit the medium camera cube, and that is not me slurring my words, that is what it is called. The medium is too big, and the small I don't think uses the space that well, so a medium fits perfectly. This bag weighs 879 grams or 1.94 pounds, which you could argue is a little heavy for an 18-liter day pack, but as a day pack or a personal item, these are typically never getting weighed, and you're never in that danger zone of having your bag weighed and maybe getting gate checked, so I wouldn't really worry about that. It's really, for me, at this size, just is it comfortable to carry? Now, as this is a continuation of the Peak Design outdoor line, this works well with all of the other stuff that I might have covered in that other video. There are lash points everywhere for their cord hook system. It'll work well with their little packing cubes, and it'll work well with their slings, attaching things in any possibly imaginable configuration on this bag. There's a hydration sleeve at the back of this bag that can fit a 13-inch MacBook Pro. There's an optional hip belt and rain fly. However, there's quite a lot of built-in water resistance, and the carry is quite comfortable, so I don't actually think you need either of these, but maybe you will feel differently if you're carrying a lot of heavy camera gear. Now, this is a 210D Terrashell ripstop nylon with a PU laminate coating on the bottom here. Now, this bag is 100% recycled, PFAS free. They're Blue Sign certified corporation. They have net zero carbon emission standards. So they're very eco-conscious. This is a brand that you can get behind and really feel good about the purchase that you're making if you're concerned at all about the environment. Now, all of the threading, the cord hook is going to be UHMWPE. Hopefully I got that acronym right. Threading, that's that ultra high tensile thread that they weave with this kind of nylon thread to create these stretchy mesh pockets. It's also with these cord loop systems that you see everywhere. And they have water resistance on this that is PFAS free. Those are those forever plastics. You really don't want those on any of your goods. These zippers are water resistant. They're number 5 and number 8 weatherproof. I think they're called Ultra Zips. And the few places that there is hardware, it's aluminum, like these clips up here for the shoulder straps, which clip them in. So overall, a super durable, high quality bag. And that's what you're paying for at this price point, and what you've come to know when you look at a brand like Peak Design. They care about their products and they put a lot of thought into them. Now, I want to talk about the sling, but first let's talk about the bag quickly. There's not a lot going on this bag. It is a very simple 18-liter day pack. There's minimal branding. There's a Peak Design logo right here behind your head. And then you'll also have the PD logo on the front right here. There is a quick access side pocket on the front. It's got some depth. This is going to be if you're going through security, if you're taking this flying, or maybe just, snacks while you're taking this hiking, and it is an outdoor line bag. And it's interesting, their outdoor line basically tries to straddle the line between everything. It is a camera bag, it is a travel bag, this is a day pack, but it's also a hiking backpack. And it does a fairly good job at all of those, but I'm gonna talk about some of the concerns that I read online and how I personally feel about the bag. And there's another quick access pocket on the other side, so you get two. One over here, which rests on top of the other one. So if you use any of these pockets, they're gonna eat into each other's capacities. However, you can see that there is some give here. You can quit quite a few things. One of them is going to have your little key leash in one of the sides, but they both go to the edge kind of this material a little bit before it. They just layer right on top of each other. You have 2 water bottle pockets on each side, stretchy mesh. I feel like this will fit just about everything. They're quite deep. I mean, that swallows about half my arm. And then you also have these cord hook systems up here, which can cinch stuff down and hold bigger objects like a tripod, for example, or a larger water bottle. You can also loosen this up if you need a little more slack in this cord hook system, which is what I really love. And you'll notice all the way around the bag, much like the 45 liter, there are attachment points. So you can do under bag straps if you want to roll up a jacket and put it under there. You can use these as compression straps for the main bag. You can clip the sling or packing cubes to the front of the bag. On these shoulder straps, there's a dedicated attachment point for the camera clip that they offer, which I love this thing. It's really, really great to use. The one thing I've noticed with this is that when you use the dedicated attachment point, which is right back here, there's like a piece of kind of hard plastic. But when you use this, you basically can no longer use this pocket, which, okay, not a big deal. However, the sternum straps, typically what I've done is I've slid them into the pocket, but once this is tied down on it, I mean, you can't obviously get behind that anymore. So I've just resorted to kind of tying them or clipping them back to themselves to these attachment points just to get them out of the way. Just something you should be aware of, not a deal breaker in any capacity, but you do lose one of your shoulder strap pockets there. However, there is one on the other side and you've got another little PD tag right here. Again, there's another camera attachment point on this side, so it's on both sides of the shoulder straps, depending on what you prefer. Then you have these beefy padded top areas, more attachment points through those, and then kind of the G-hook system, which straps the shoulder straps to the bag. I don't know why you would even use the G-straps because it's not really an adjustable bag. There is a pass-through right here if you wanted to slide cords up through this part of the bag, or if you're using hydration sleeve, or sorry, if you're using your hydration bladder, maybe you want the tip to rest in here while you're walking around, maybe so it doesn't get dusty. And then there is spot back here. You can feel the like kind of hook system that they have for their hip belt right back here behind the lower back panel. Now, there is an air channel right here in the middle. It's important if you're gonna be using this outdoors that it works well with the heat and it's comfortable to carry. You have molded foam all the way up and down the back, and it is extremely, extremely comfortable to carry. These shoulder straps for an 18-liter bag, a Daypack, are beefy. I mean, look how thick that is. And it really carries and translates well into comfort. I've loved carrying this bag around, despite it being packed out. Sure, 2 pounds plus whatever you put in here might make it a little heavy, but I've never noticed. It just feels really, really good to use. I love the colorway. I love the black with the kind of golden brown logos and zipper pulls. They look great. I like the fact that there is water resistant zippers, and even if there is an optional rain shell, I really don't feel like you need it that much. However, if you're carrying camera gear, I would absolutely get one because it's never worth ruining your camera gear over like 30 bucks for an optional rain shell. And that's pretty much it for external access. Once you get in, it's just a big bucket and it opens from the back and does a lay flat, very Manal-esque. And then here you've got your hydration sleeve slash MacBook slash laptop compartment. This will fit a 13-inch MacBook right here. It's just got this little Velcro thing to tie it down. There's not a lot of padding. There's a false bottom. You don't really need a lot of padding. The bottom does feel a little bit thicker in terms of material to help support that weight. And you'll notice here that there is a little water logo because that's where your hydration can pass through and then work its way up through these lash attachment points on the side of the bag. Now, this is also how you would attach camera cubes into the bag, and you could mix and match and do the hydration sleeve through this gray one and then the camera cube through these black ones on the side. Now, one of the complaints that I did read that I specifically wanted to call out is that let's say you were using this for a hiking backpack. You've got your hydration bladder in here and then you've got your camera cube. Well, let's say you're in the middle of a hike, you see a great shot, you want to grab your camera out of the bag. One of the problems that I read is that, well, apart from this is how you hook your hydration sleeve on. If your hydration bladder does not have a hook, like not all of them do, one of mine does, one of mine doesn't, my platypus one does not, then you're gonna have a hard time really using this unless you have like your own third-party hook system, which some people found annoying because then it's just obviously gonna kind of sink into the bag. The main complaint though that I read about, I think that's something you should just be aware of and make sure that your hydration bladder has a way to hook onto that. One of the things that people complained about is that when you're running the tube down through the bottom of this bag and up through these straps is that you can't really open the bag, right? Because it's gonna put tension on the tube and bend it a little bit. and then you can't really open the bag all the way, which kind of defeats the purpose. Just something you should be aware of. Some people say that was by far the biggest miss that they experienced with this bag. I typically just use a water bottle these days, so less of a concern for me. Now, I want to take you into the main compartment of the bag. It's 18 liters, so there's not a ton of space in here, but you can see that my trusty old Peak Design medium packing cube fits perfectly in here, and there's just enough room once you get that out for a small toiletry kit. This one's from Maverick & Co. I'm reviewing it currently along with one of their travel bags, and it fits just kind of perfectly on top of this Peak Design cube, just like that. And there's a lot of space at the top the way this bag works. I mean, I could probably even slide something else in on top of it, but not if I had this really packed out. And that should give you a good idea of the amount of space that you can have in this bag. Now, for me, this is perfect. This is all I really need for a short trip, and I would use that front pocket for my electronics, or I would take this sling with it. And that's typically what I do when I have a small day pack. I love to grab a sling with it because you can typically get by, especially most budget airlines, by having just a little sling and a little day pack. They typically let you take both, and that's like the perfect combination for me because I like to have stuff with me at my seat, and this is the easiest way for me to do it because I can wrap it around the tray table, and then I've got access to all of my electronics that I might need on the flight. Now again, this whole bag does have some great water resistance built in. It's got a PU coating on all of this internal nylon, and you can see that when you look in the bag, this kind of shine, it's all PU coated in here, all PFAS free. Again, that's super important. And you can see that it's just pretty solid, durable material. And I like that it keeps its shape. For such a thin material, it actually holds this kind of bucket shape really, really well, which makes it a dream to pack. Now, I really like this bag. I think it's perfect for me if I want to travel on a low cost carrier, if I want another personal item bag, maybe kind of like the Osprey, but something that is maybe more suited for camera gear, or if I'm part of the Peak Design ecosystem, then this would be a kind of a no-brainer for me. I do understand the complaint about the hydration bladder. That's just something you need to be aware of. Make sure it has a hook, and then you probably aren't going to be able to loop that through because there is an exterior access point right here on the side, which is where the bladder is supposed to come out, the hose for it, I mean. You're probably never going to get any use out of that, and also it being at the top right here is kind of interesting considering that most of the bag is fairly water resistant, but then you have this hole at the top. I mean, there is a layer of fabric underneath that is going to help block that, and they do layer over each other, and it is quite tight, so it's not like it's going to get soaked, but I mean, water is going to find a way. It's going to get in there. Just something to be aware of if you are using this more for hiking than for camera gear, but for me, it's like a perfect size for a budget, low-cost carrier airline. Now, let's talk about this sling. I love their slings. They're super comfortable, and I've been looking for a sling for a long time. Now, what I use right now is the Hyperlight mountain gear sling. They've got like a really small kind of 1 liter one, and that's perfect for like keys, sunglasses, if I'm taking it to an amusement park and I just need to stuff things away while I go into a ride, but it's not so bulky that they make me grab a locker. However, when I'm traveling, so I'm spending some time in Europe, for example, I'm gonna have my camera gear on me because I'm gonna want to film while I'm walking around or take photos. I'm also gonna want a water bottle. I'm gonna need my tripod, things like that. That's when these slings come into play. Now, this is their 7 liter. This thing is gigantic. For a sling, this is just a little too big for me, but I love it. I love the color, and it fits a ton of stuff, and there's definitely a time and place for it. I know I said it's too big for me, but if I was carrying around this camera, for example, my Sony, I would definitely probably need something like this with one of their packing cubes because it fits one of their packing cubes, and now all of a sudden my camera gear is protected rather than just kind of free floating in this thin nylon material, and that would probably make a world of difference for me. There are also attachment points at the bottom in both these bags. You can see I've got it set up here for a tripod or something like that if you have a very big tripod. Again, this would be if I have a ton of stuff. Or maybe not even a ton of stuff, but a larger tripod, and I'll show you what I mean. Now, this is my smaller 4 liter. This is the one that they just came out with because when they released this, it was a 7 and a 2 liter sling, and a 4 liter is probably more what I would want if I was gonna carry some camera gear. For example, I'm starting to use the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 more and more, and I've got a lot of the accessories in here. I've got my little Ulanzi tripod right here, my travel tripod, and that all fits great, and I don't need much more. I talked about this actually in my last video, but these are my RavPower battery banks that I've been using a lot. So this is great. This one just kind of plugs into the bottom of the phone, or for me, I've been using it for the battery handle on the Osmo Pocket 3, and it's just a great way to keep it charged while I'm on the go because it just plugs in and I can still kind of use it as a handheld. And then I like to keep this one separate from my phone. It's got the USB-C cable built right in. I can use this as a finger loop while I'm holding it and charging it, and it also has a USB-A port. And what's great is both of them have a LED screen right there that tells you the percent charged, so you know when you have to recharge it. Just really, really cool power banks. I'll link to these in the bottom below. And this is a perfect size sling for me. Now they also have a phone pocket back here. They both do. And it's got this little magnetic closure. It's about 19 centimeters wide, I believe they said. And there's a little magnet up here. You can feel it, and that kind of keeps it secure. Now it's not meant to be open the entire way. And there is stitching on either side of this. And that's important because you don't want your phone just falling out of here, right? So you do have to put it in at an angle, and they even tell you that. But the space does go further over to the side here to actually fit your phone. It's just so that your phone doesn't pop out if you for whatever reason took this off and it was kind of at a weird angle. So I like that. I probably would always keep my phone in my pocket, but I like the concept behind it. Now inside here in the interior, you have one big zippered pocket, and it takes the pocket system from the 7-liter. So it's basically the same product, but you get this one big zippered pocket right in the interior right there. You've got these 2 mesh pockets right on the front, perfect for me for my ND filters, my black mist filter for my Osmo Pocket 3, just SD cards, things that I can shove right in here and then kind of keep them separate and organized and maybe a little more protected that I don't want free floating in the bag. And then you have one giant big bucket for all of your other stuff. That'd be like my phone, my bottle of water. And then you have another quick access pocket on the front, chapstick, snacks, key leash. This is like the perfect size for me if I'm carrying some bulkier items like my camera gear, my power banks, my DJI Osmo stuff, just because my 1-liter isn't gonna fit that, and I don't necessarily need the 7-liter for that kind of space. I also feel like you're much more likely to get away with carrying a 4-liter sling with something like this. The 7-liter is big. I mean, that is a big bag. That's almost as wide as my chest right there. So that's quite large, but there is a time when I would use it, and that's if I was using my big Ulanzi tripod, which I have somewhere. Here we go. Ulanzi tripod. This is my really big one. I love this thing. I know Peak Design has their own. They are quite expensive, but everyone that I know that uses them absolutely loves them. For me, I'm a little more budget when it comes to tripods because I feel like I always need a different one for different things, and I've never really settled on one. This one's been my favorite so far. It's about maybe 13-ish inches long, so that isn't gonna quite fit in this 4-liter sling. I mean, maybe at an angle, if I had nothing else in there and I really stretched the material, it would just fit. So what I would probably opt to do in this case, if I was carrying this, is I would use those hook cord system and I would attach it to the bottom. However, I'd be worried about it slipping out, even though you can cinch these down incredibly, incredibly tight. Or that is when I would take this 7-liter. So just something to be aware of, because this will fit it super easily. It won't even flinch. Boom. That's nice and tucked away. So those are the 2 slings that I have. They also have a 2-liter. Now a 2-liter is obviously just gonna be half this size, so much, much smaller. You're not gonna fit a large tripod. You are probably gonna be able to fit one of these small little pocket ones, which honestly, for a lot of things, this is probably all that you need, especially with like a little phone adapter. If you're just filming on your phone, which smartphones can do so many great things these days. But all in all, I love the Peak Design outdoor line. They have been really, really great. Anyway, that is it for the Peak Design 18-liter and 4-liter sling review. I hope you really enjoyed the review. If you haven't already, I'll link to the review of the 45-liter. And if you have any questions about either of these slings, the 7-liter or the 4-liter, please let me know. Or if you have a question about the 18-liter, obviously, I just feel like this bag's a little more self-explanatory. Please let me know. These are great bags. Peak Design has really left their mark on kind of the travel world for a while now, and the reputation is well deserved. I really, really love this company. They make great products, and if you're into photography in any way, you probably already know about them, and they just make really great products. I can't say enough great things about them. I hope you enjoyed this review. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, as it helps support the channel and bring content like this to you guys. Thank you.